Hi, I'm Mr. Miyagi, and this is Mr. Miyagi's Workshop. Well, welcome back to another episode of Delica Catastrophe. Yeah, we're going to be working on this one. We're going to be doing some framework now on the front. And you might note that the front end is gone here, all the parts and pieces. One of the reasons for that is that we're going to be putting on a coastal off-road new bumper. And it comes as a kit and you weld it together, which should be fun. And yes, I'll do a video on that. But today we're going to work on frame on both sides here. We've got some problems and I'll get to it here in a minute and show you what's going on. Okay, this is the driver's side here. Now, one of the things that I found, somebody's put in a plate, but the problem is you can look down inside this tube from up front here, and let me show you. Can you see all that piles of rust down in there? So I got to get that out of there. And the best way to do that would to remove this plate. Now I've taken the ball joint off and the brake line that came down ran to the caliper. I got rid of all that out of the way, so I have a little bit of room. But the problem is they also welded the shock mount, which I need to remove to double check this area. They welded it to the bump stop. So I'm going to cut this loose, cut it loose here, and cut this out, and probably put in a complete new piece right in here. Now this is kind of a questionable area too. You can see on this that it's fairly rusted out. So I need to make sure that the integrity of this area is still good. So here again, I'll probably cut this plate off and redo this whole area. So let's get to it. So at this stage, I've cut out some of the patches so I could actually get into the areas here on both sides. One thing I have done too is I've loosened up these mounting bolts here, these two, and one over here and one here. And my hopefully is it's already started to drop there a little bit, and I may end up being able to jack this apart a little bit. I'm going to slide a piece in and hopefully fit it in here with a lipped up edge, and then weld that together. I don't think I'll go all the way across it. This is good and solid in here. What I think I'm going to do is I'm going to do a kind of an L-shaped patch that'll go in there, and then this will weld through here and up across there, and then back over through here, and basically the same thing here. I'm not taking out this bottom patch. I'll grind this down to it's smooth and run that patch over a ways, and then same thing, I'll go past it up there in the front a little bit, and hopefully that will strengthen this up tremendously. I'm going to have to get in there and clean this rust out more, and then I'll put some inhibitor in there And then I have some Eastwood inside coating that I can spray in there after it's all welded up. So let's carry on and see what we can do. Okay, one little tip. When you are working around here, you should make a cover to protect your boots, your CV boot and your steering boot. And I made one that just out of some light tin, same way at this end right here. I made one to cover up the one going into the axle area here, the hub. So just you know, you never know, grinding or the sparks coming could burn a hole in it, and you want it to damage your boots. You know, if you're not going to remove this area like I didn't, you want to protect them. So anyway, that's a good tip. Now here's a close-up of the inside of the stuff of what I'm dealing with here. I've trimmed all this out, and I'm able to push this down a bit, push this unit down that holds the engine and the steering system down, and you can see that there's a gap along here which I'll be able to slide through. Now I'm not sure that I want to pull these bolts or just make a piece of plate that'll slide in with a notch in it. It'll slide past that and then go all the way back up. There's a lip edge that runs all the way along here where the frame, the way they designed the frame, so I'll meet up against that. I haven't quite decided exactly how I'm going to tackle this right at the moment here, but I got some more cleanup here, clean these, grind these welds down, get all that, get some rust inhibitor in there, and get her going again. So back at it. Well, now that we've got it kind of cleaned out here and dropped down, I'm going to make a pattern out of some cardboard to mark these holes and make sure that I'll have enough material to do what I need to do. So what I've done is I've slid all the way up against that back lip, and now I'm going to mark the holes. All right, since I made the pattern, I need to cut some steel. And what we're going to do, so I made this pattern about an inch longer than I needed, just to make sure. So we're going to cut this down to 11 and a half. This is marked out at 12 inches. I'm going to cut this down to 11 and a half. And then we'll trim it up from there. And it's a 5-inch wide piece that I'm using. So now we need to mark this where the bend and the punches are going to be at. But first we're going to do the punching. So now let's do a little punching. What I was doing there on the bottom of these dies, these punches, there's a little tit that hangs up there, and if you put a divot with your material with a punch, then you can line it up easily. Okay, I've got it lined out now, so we're gonna bend it. And hopefully I got it right. Now we've got this pretty well fitted. It's up in place here. Got the bolts down in and up. Now I kind of want to block this up, make sure it's up against tight. Can't wedge this up. So it's looking pretty good there. Now I'm going to do is I'll just weld around here a little bit and here, and then I'm going to make a piece that fits up in here and plugs this hole and fits around that area there. Okay, I've got this all welded around here and up here, down and under there. I'm not going to be able to get as much back up in here as I wanted to because the way that the frame and everything comes in. Let me see if I can get a little shot here of that. It's real tight through there, so we'll see what we can do. But right now I'm going to make up this piece to go in here. And what I also need to do is I need to put in a point here for that screw to go down. I broke the other screw off in here, so I'm just going to weld on another little nut on the back side of this and use this area right here. It doesn't really matter where this sits, just as long as it doesn't move. This section of frame forward is somewhat done. Let's see if the bolt still fits. Oh goodness, look at that. Right on. Okay. Rust preventive. Alrighty then. Moving right along. Now we got to fill in this hole. Well, I'm thinking this side looks pretty good now. It's all back together. These bolts are tightened up underneath here. I sprayed on that rust inhibitor. Got the bump stop on. Got it welded the best I can to where I can get to it. And I think it looks pretty good. But tomorrow, let me show you what we're going to do. Yeah. Cut all this out. That's all broken away. The bump stop is all kind of screwed up. And this up here is all ate up. So, oh, got a hole. We're definitely going to get a patch there. And you can tell that there's something going on there, and right up here. So, going to be a busy day, and then this is going to have to be followed through a lot further. And then you can see right through into the frame right there. So, yeah, it's going to be a fun day tomorrow. Good morning, gang. I'm out here working on the Delica. I'm working on the passenger side now, and I've really found some major problems, and I'm not sure what I'm going to do. One of the first, let me get it over here, is that bolt. The nut on the back side, or the screw-in area, is welded to a plate, which this just spins now. But that's not all. The front end piece here, right here, this piece, this bolt, I don't know if you can see it in there, but that whole mechanism turns. That right up there was supposed to be attached to a run or a piece of metal in there, and it's all rotted out. And if we go over here, this section's all rotted out, and this is all rotted out. And I'm at the Delicatastrophe now, because this whole section of frame, I'm hoping the backside, but it doesn't look like it, is all gone. And hopefully these bolts here will come loose. They are shaft all the way through, so it's not that big of a deal. This is the only one that threads up into this area right here. Oh man, this is not good. And then there's some more rust up in here that I'll have to double check. So that's where we're at right at the moment. So I cut a section out in the frame there, and this is what I got. This whole shelf area that kept that in place is gone, and it's just full of rust. So I'm going to end up having to cut all this out, but first I've got to get this loose and this up out of the way so I can do my work. It's going to be a fun day. So I was able to get that shock mount off. I ended up having to cut that bolt head off to get it off there. But you can see that whole frame. This section of the frame is totally gone. So somehow I'm going to have to rebuild all this, because right now I can't even get it out of my shop if I wanted to. Ah, geez. Okay, this is where we're at. Got the arm out of the way. I've got to cut all this crap out of here. And on the back side, the dipshit, excuse my French or whatever, welded to the actual bracket. You never weld to unboltable parts. I cannot believe the stupidity of some people. He welded here, he welded on this, and then he welded it on the back side, which I got to figure out how to cut. If it wasn't bad enough. Okay, an update. It's gone. This is the kind of crapola I'm pulling out of there. Still have to work on this major part. Ties into this frame. But I think I got it figured out. And I need to straighten out this area up in here and build this section of the frame back again too. So it's going to be interesting, people. I'd be filming a lot more of the cutting and everything here, but the camera gets in the way, and I'm sorry about that. But anyway, I'm going to trim all this up and show you what it looks like trimmed up, and then we'll start from there. Okay, this is where we're at. Chopped out everything, and I think I'm done for the day. Tomorrow's a new day, but now we can build in all this area, make a plate for here and whatever, refinish the tube up front, and have a good go of it. I just finished cleaning up another pile of rust and frame parts. Well, this morning we get to make patterns so we can cut out pieces of metal for this whole area through here, and maybe hopefully get it all welded together today. So we'll see how this all works out. Okay, this is part of the frame patch, and hopefully this will work out. I'm tying this into the shock mount bracing area, and then all along here there's somebody had a piece in this section. I had to cut it loose because they actually literally welded it to the bolt area there, and to drop it down to get it in the right distance. So what I've been doing is I set a point up here and then measure down to get a distance is what I need. And then I did a lineup. Now we're shifted just a little bit this way, but I can rocket that. But right now all I'm doing is I'm working on the frame patch. So I'm going to get to welding that, get back here in a minute. So what I did there is I punched in some holes and then tack weld this to the back brace here, which was pretty rusty, but I got it cleaned up enough to get some good holds on it. And that's the important part. We want this to all kind of tie together. And once I build this front piece and tie it back into shock mount and tie in all this area over in here, it should be pretty strong. Okay, well this is what I accomplished today. Now I didn't get to do a lot of filming because there was a lot of fitting going on. You know, making these little divots and such to blend in. And you're probably wondering how I did that. Well, here in a second or so I'll take you over to the bench and show you how I did it. But it's not looking too bad. I had to make up 3 of these, and the end one here was in pretty good shape, so I saved it and cleaned it up a bit. So hopefully tomorrow we'll be welding and fitting the front piece on here around this unit, putting the nuts in, welding those in so I have something to screw to. I did break off one in the I had to cut it off just to get it off there because it was all screwed up, but hopefully I'll have another screw laying around here or a bolt that'll handle it, and then it should be going together, hopefully. Another thing I did too is make sure everything was lined up. I put in a turnbuckle there, pulled back on the frame to line these marks and everything up that I had before I cut this unit loose and cut it out and pushed it down and set it up to at the right height that we match both sides. So at this point I'm measuring to here to here, and then from the base of this to the base of that hopefully is the same on both sides. So far the measurements have been staying in there. So anyway, let's go over to the bench and I'll show you how I bend those. So this is a bench brake, and it's kind of nice. It's fits the jaws of our 6-inch vise, and basically it's just a small brake that you can just bend by cranking, and it does a nice little deal. I mean, how I made those other units, I just did a Z bend. I got this one years ago, and I'm not sure. I think I got it through Grizzly here in the States. I know Eastwood now sells them. If you go on eastwood.com, you can look up vice brake and maybe find them there. But you know, they're magnetic. They just sit on and go, which is kind of nice. I've built a lot of stuff with this little vise. I've also bent the heck out of my handle too. So this morning I got this plate welded in all along here, both sides. I did a Z fit. Why I did it this way with the lap over is it makes it a bit stronger, and then I put an extra little support in the back there to tie into the rest of this. And then I think I'm going to build the top piece first through here, because I have this little dish out for to make up here for the the shock tower that comes up into here that mounts the shock mount itself. So, and then I can determine where to put the bolts for the shock mount in the lower section. Well, I apologize for not doing a lot of filming today, because I had to put all these pieces in, especially this top one, and get all these bolts lined up, bolt holders. I made this piece in here, and right now that's what I'm fitting. So hopefully before the quitting time I'll have that piece in place. I'm still gonna have to put in a place for the bolt to go, so we'll see how all this goes together. Well, I did get a little bit further today. Got this piece in and the cutaway for the shock mount and one of the mounting screw areas. Well, this morning's project. I ended up putting in this piece here that needs a capture nut on it, so I ended up welding that in. I still have a patch to do on the other side over here. It's tough for me to film all this at the same time I'm doing this work, so what I'm going to probably do is I'm going to stop and do some filming, and then I'll continue on. I'm not going to do the whole patch fitting in and all that in one shot. It's just too difficult. I'm too tired. I've been on this project for over 2 weeks now, trying to save this old Delica. So hope you bear with me. Thank you. All right, so I got everything together. I got in this piece. I got in that piece on the back side there. Let me see if I can get a good... Got this piece on the back side here filled in. And now what I got to do is make a pattern for this piece, put in the other hole over here for the shock mount, and form this back into something that looked like the old, hopefully. All right, so I got this piece all fitted in here, welded in place, even spot welded up inside there. So now to finish up, I need to put this plate in, put the receiver hole in, and weld on the little bump stop. Can't remember which side. I think it's on this side here where it goes. Okay, people. She's back together again, one solid. So all four corners of this frame have been fixed. But I still have some small rust spots to take care of. But those are easy compared to what I just did. Now all I got to do is paint it and finish putting everything back together again. Well, I hope you've liked this week's episode on the Delicatastrophe, repairing the front frame. It's been 2 weeks of hell on working on this thing. I'm surviving though. We still have ball joints and some painting and torsion bars and the shock mount, or shocks to go in place. And I'd like to redo the brake lines a little bit up here. They're kind of questionable. But if there's any questions or comments, you can either put them in the comment section below, or you can send them to my email address at teammiyagi@hotmail.com, and I'll try to answer them the best to my ability if there's questions or whatever. But if you've liked this episode, please like, share, and subscribe. And don't forget that ringy-dingy button for that next episode coming up. You never know what we're going to do. So this is Mr. Miyagi signing off and saying be safe out there.